welcome to the 163rd episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome. Today, we're going to do an episode of What the Fork, and I have my registered dietitian, Addie Dulaney Majnaric, with me. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
So we're going to talk about a few things that we've been seeing, postings various places, and one is bone broth and collagen supplements.
Yes, it is one of the top trending diet trends for 2018.
And it's amazing how many people will just take supplements. Oh, it's going to make your skin better, your wrinkles better, and we don't actually think about where these sources come from. And, we all have collagen. It makes up our connective tissues, our bones, our joints, our ligaments. It makes up cell membranes. It accounts for 75% of our skin weight. And we make and repair this every day. And we certainly don't need to take in external sources to make it. It's a protein. And proteins are made up of amino acids. Again, oftentimes we think we have to take in a specific protein for it to go to be a specific protein.
And the other marketing flaw with these two supplements, which is what they are, they're not, typically, especially the collagen powders, it's a supplement, not a food, is that they're marketed as clean and or pure protein. So we're going to talk a little bit about why those two titles may not be exactly true.
Yep. So if you're taking in collagen, for instance, it comes from either a fish source, chicken parts, pig source, cow parts, and it's from the spongy part of these animals where most contaminants are located. And, there's not a lot of regulation in these as far as where they come from and the regulation.
And to touch a little bit on regulation, whether it be, these collagen powders or vitamins or supplements, you want to flip those over just like you would a processed food and look at that label. And what you'll notice is that unlike, a food item like a pasta or things like that you would buy at the store that has a nutrition facts label, these protein powders, collagen powders, vitamins, and other supplements have supplement facts, not nutrition facts. They're not regulated by the FDA or any cohesive governing body. They can be produced, in different factories that aren't annually regulated or observed for their processing. And, so it takes a little bit of the credibility out of the equation, as well as, what is actually in these foods, as well as, who's making them and if it's even what they're saying is in them.
Right. If they look at the studies that have been published, they're all very, very, very small, less than 100 people, most of all these studies. You can look to see whether they're the studies that are done on skin rejuvenation. So does people think that their skin is more elastic or their lines are more filled in? And obviously these are very subjective results that you can't really measure in any way. And most of them, again, not only are they small, but they are sponsored by industry. If you look at the studies at joint improvement by taking collagen supplements. There's one study out of Penn State, again, a very small study. And again, there's subjective results as far as, do joints hurt less or not? And there's just not a lot of small studies. And again, there aren't any big studies, and most of the studies are industry sponsored. So, right then and there, it's hard to find any good reason for this. There's a couple studies in rats that looked at, they labeled the collagen with a radioactive material, and they saw that collagen actually ended up, or you might say parts of the collagen ended up in the rat's skin, and so they therefore concluded that, yes, that collagen was taken up by skin and stayed there for about 14 days. But the reality of it is when you eat collagen, just like you eat any protein, it's broken down into amino acids. It starts that digestion in your stomach. with gastric acids, and it's broken down again into amino acids eventually, and those are absorbed. And the biggest ones that are absorbed that make collagen in your skin are proline and glycine.
And when we talk about amino acids, we have two types, essential and non-essential. And a lot of the amino acids found in collagens are the non-essential ones. And they're non-essential because they're already being made in your body. Our body naturally produces the collagen. You kind of cap out on, the level that you're increasing your collagen when you're around your 20s, and you may not produce as much, but there are dietary things such as eating whole food plant-based sources of nutrients to continue the collagen growth process. One of the main things for all people, plant eaters, meat eaters, all the above, is vitamin C and its role that it plays in collagen production in the body.
And so get back to my love of fruit. If we want to, this time of year is a great time for vitamin C. Not only we think citrus early on, but tomatoes, cucumbers, all the different melons, greens that are out have tremendous sources of vitamin C that are again needed to interact and act as enzymes to use these amino acids. So just taking an amino acid is like, it's a little bit like when we talk about saying if we just fed somebody protein, we could make a bodybuilder without them doing the exercise. So just taking these collagen supplements without having the specific nutrients around to work with the amino acids is not going to result in more collagen or any benefits.
No, it is not the idea that you eat collagen, you get collagen, and it just stays collagen from mouth to in between your knee bones. That's not the process that happens here.
Yes, and even if you look at, one of the diseases, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is it's a genetic disease of joints and collagen uptake and increased mobility and vascular disease. There's been no benefit with collagen supplements in these people. So this is the most, basic aspect of, could you help these people with a collagen supplement? And if you look at the price tag on some of these things, you're talking, $40 for these supplements, which is amazing because it's kind of the same price tag of $40 for 20 ounces, like you would see any other protein powder or any other kind of supplement. They all amazingly fall into the same type of category of cost, which is, I guess what you would say the market will bear for supplements. So, again, the best way is to eat a whole food, plant-based diet. You get, these glycine and proline amino acids from cabbage, soy, chives, asparagus, peanuts, wheats, whole grains, watercress, beans, legumes. So there's so many there's so many whole foods that you get these amino acids from that your body maintains its collagen source from these. I mean, come on now, before we had collagen supplements, people didn't fall apart.
And I think another interesting fact, going back to the supplement facts label, is they're talking about on a lot of these products, one pure ingredient, and that is all. But then they list the sodium content. So clearly there is not just one ingredient in these powders.
No, they have to have a binder, so they increase your sodium intake. And then, it comes again with the contamination. A lot of the companies will say that they test so that the contamination of mercury and lead and other heavy contaminants are within the legal limits. But if we're trying to eat as nutrient dense and as healthy as we possibly can, then we want to avoid any extra sources of these heavy metals that we don't need. So if you're picking a little bit of heavy metals up here and there from a lot of different things, it adds up over time. And these are especially dangerous in nursing mothers, pregnant mothers, that, can pass these on to young babies with developing brains.
There's even a warning label on these products to consult a medical professional if you are nursing, pregnant, or thinking of becoming pregnant and using these supplements. So that should be another red flag.
And when you're looking at heavy metals and neurotoxicity, there's been a lot of studies done in brain inflammation, and when you get excessive amounts of heavy metals, then that increases the risk. So again, it's a non-necessary supplement that has some potential major side effects down the road, and you just don't eliminate heavy metals like you eliminate heavy, excess vitamins. These get stored in the fatty tissues of our body, brain, etc., and it takes years to get rid of this stuff.
And I think the intentions are pure of the consumer. Most people looking into these products are trying to get healthier, looking for the next best thing. They may be athletes, they may be starting on their health and wellness journey. So your intentions are there. But moral of the story with, a lot of things that we discuss is get your nutrients from the natural foods. It typically will be cheaper, and it's a safer bet to have on the whole food, plant-based sources versus these supplements, which, as we're saying, can contain some pretty harmful ingredients. And another thing to note is, these companies selling these products have a whole marketing team. And again, you have pure intentions, but you also need to be an advocate for yourself. So we pulled up just a few of the companies who sell these collagen protein powders in various forms. And a lot of the health claim pages on these websites have these, little stars next to the information. And that means you need to scroll on down to the teeny tiny fine print at the bottom of these pages, which reads, "These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease." So again, supplement facts versus nutrition facts, knowing who is doing these studies, and just getting your information correct is very important in making good choices for yourself and your health and wellness.
Yes, and then, just again, moving on a little bit, the next thing would be bone broth that we're hearing, in the vegan world and in the plant-based world, we take away people's oil, so to speak, their beloved oil. It's like, what will I cook with? And again, you can just saute with a little bit of water. And then, it's like, what about when I make soup? And, of course, the marketing industry has come up with vegetable broth. And you can use vegetable broth, but the reality of it is if you're making soup with onions and carrots and celery or mushrooms in your soup, and even the beans, the broth, make their own vegetable soup. It's exactly what's in vegetable broth minus the additions of, thickeners and preservatives and the cost of the box and all this other kind of stuff. So don't worry about buying vegetable broth. And then if you take that one step further, bone broth, people thinking that this is adding some sort of great health benefit, whether it's an iron source or some sort of magic bullet that cleanses or decreases inflammation. It's only adding inflammation. It's a huge potential source of iron that can be toxic. If you don't need excessive, you get plenty of iron from your vegetables. You don't need to take in excessive amounts, and excessive amounts of heme iron is actually deposited in your liver and your brain. And again, over the years, this increases your risk of inflammation. And when we look at heavy metal toxicity, the big ones, lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium, a lot of these things are environmental in exposures. Some of us have worked in environments where there's heavy metals, if you've worked in the steel industry or cement industry, painting and things like that. But even in the development of some of these pharmaceuticals, you can get workplace exposure, you can get agricultural exposures with pesticides and heavy metals. So all these things, sometimes we don't even know we're getting them, like we talked about with the deodorants, potential aluminums. So if we can keep from ingesting them by not buying supplements with them, and you're actually ahead of the ball game. And, so there's no need to add bone broth for your health. I can't think of any benefit that you would want to do this for. Grandma used to make chicken soup, and people said, chicken soup, was helpful to beat a cold. And actually, that's actually even been disproven. So there's really no reason to put bone broth in anything. So in doing some review, on some of these different sites where, again, the bone broth people are onto it, so they want to talk about grass-fed and, natural supplements. So, here's one site that where you can read it, Addie.
This is directly from, again, one of these manufacturers saying, quote, bone broth is made by simmering any kind of animal bone and tissue, any kind, for at least 10 hours with veggies, herbs, spices such as thyme, garlic, and bay leaves. We also say that killer bones equals killer broth because grass-fed and organic bones yield the most nutrient-dense broths. And while any bone or ligament will do, the trick, knuckles, feet, and femur bones contain the most collagen. This last part is what gets me. The slow simmer time of bone broth is crucial for all of the beneficial proteins, minerals, and compounds to be released from the bones. What they're not telling you is all the crap that is also being released.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the most collagen comes from the parts, and this is a great marketing thing from industry because when the rendering of animals have left, traditionally the parts have went to make dog feed and kibble and things like that. Now they're actually turning it into food for human consumption, and Dr. Greger on nutritionfacts.org has talked about the lead toxicity in bones, specifically from chickens, specifically from organic chickens. So just because something is grass-fed does not mean that it not exposed to lead and mercury from the soils. And again, this stuff is deposited and concentrated in these areas and then leached out by this cooking mechanism. And it's not like it's sifted out or anything. So, stay away from this stuff.
I mean, people, what the fork? Would we go into the bone section at Petco and suck on one of our dog's bones? I do not think so.
So one of the sources we looked at, it ranges from, $15 to $18 for a carton. So I mean, it's think about vegetable broth being $3 or $4 for a carton. This stuff is even more expensive.
And it's just a 16-ounce carton.
Yeah, so a 16-ounce carton of this stuff, and again, people talk about being plant-based is so expensive, buying fruits and vegetables. Just think about how many vegetables you could buy for $15 to make your own soup stock. So it's again crazy, and then plus the fat that you're getting. On this stuff and the excessive amounts of sodium. So this particular carton contains 200 milligrams of sodium.
Not even for the whole carton.
Yeah, for 1 cup. So, you're buying, salt water plus leached iron and mercury plus a few amino acids, and this is supposed to make you feel better. I'm not sure how. So let's contrast this to a vegetable soup, one that Addie made while she's here visiting, called a spicy black bean fiesta soup, and we've had it posted on both our websites. You can check it out, but let's talk about those ingredients.
So instead of whether you are on the bone broth kick or you're still hung up with your vegetable broth, I don't use obviously either. So a simple and cheaper way is to just begin your soups with, garlic, onion. If you're doing, and this particular soup had bell peppers. And I just begin by sauteing those until soft and translucent with just a little water. And then I add more water and simmer that down. About 1.5 cups of water added to that. And then I added in the rest of my vegetables, which were, fresh corn cut off the cob and kale and mushrooms. And like I said, I had 2 orange bell peppers, 1 poblano pepper, and we had a whole onion. You could do leeks if you have an onion allergy or you want something a little bit milder. Like 3 cloves of garlic. If you want more, you can add more. You can't get enough of that stuff. And then we had some organic low sodium diced tomatoes, some strained tomatoes, and then we added in home cooked black beans from dried beans that we had cooked in our handy dandy Instant Pot earlier that day. And then I just use my spices, so chili powder and some cumin and some ground black pepper. And then so I also added a cup of fresh salsa, and you can spice it up a little bit with either some cayenne and really add in those healthy herbs and spices to your heart's desire. And I just, added a little bit of water at the end to increase the liquid. And I just let that simmer for about 30 minutes. And it's great the next day, but even after just simmering for 30 minutes, the flavors are really robust. And you have, like I said, mushrooms, kale, beans, corn, peppers, onions, garlic, tomatoes. I mean, I don't know what more you can ask for in a soup, and the flavor's fantastic. We topped it with a little fresh cilantro, lime juice, and avocado, and it was just a fantastic little dish that served us for a couple nights.
Yeah, and we even repurposed it and put it over a potato. So
and you can find the recipe both at drdulaney.com and then on my personal foodie blog, naturallyrootednutrition.com.
Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to bring up, not to belabor this point on supplements, but a lot of people will talk about, even some of the powders, calling them whole foods. If something is a powder, it is not a whole food. A whole food looks like, a cucumber looks like a cucumber, a green pepper looks like a green pepper. So that's a whole food. Don't let, this whole food thing has started to take over, like natural has, taken over. Natural on the front of things people buy on a label, and they think that it's going to be good because it's natural. Again, lead is natural, mercury is natural. It means absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, this whole foods thing is starting to mean nothing as well, because it's not a whole food. It's been processed down to a powder.
And I think, if you're transitioning through and sifting your way through these supplements and things like that, that's fine. But educate yourself along the way, and don't just trust the labels. And then, again, don't let these people steal the dollars out of your pocket just by how they're marketing with these buzzwords. When you can go directly to your farmer's market, the spring, summer months are upon us, and grab some local produce. Check out your grocery stores and, local markets for whole food produce that you can identify, and cook with those, and I guarantee it'll put those dollars back in your pocket, not just from your grocery bill, but also the medical bills that you will be avoiding later on.
We see people in the office every day that are coming in that want to get healthy and convert to plant-based nutrition. And a lot of them have been searching, and they have, done the paleo thing, which has most recently been, replaced by the keto thing, and they're still not feeling good. They suffer from constipation, decreased energy, nutrient deficiency, and when they convert, all of a sudden this is very complicated when they're so afraid that they're not going to get the nutrients from plants, and people are out shopping trying to buy all these doing these complicated recipes and trying to buy these complicated spices and supplements, and I think the best advice we can give for people is just to eat simple fruits and vegetables and whole grains. It does not have to be complicated. Pick a green for the day, whether it's, kale or spinach or Swiss chard or bok choy or cabbage even, and, add a couple other vegetables, potatoes, carrots, and keep it really, really simple. Don't try to, look for all these different supplements and sauces to add to these things, because what they end up doing, is adding a bunch of sodium and a bunch of fat and a bunch of different oils that people don't even think about. We work with a lot of diabetics, and trying to get their glucose under control is largely because the problems are largely because of all the hidden oils people take in, whether it's cooking oil, but even the nut milks. Now there's this giant competition for all different kinds of nut milks and protein strong nut milks, and a lot of them contain oil. And these coffee creamers, oil.
Yeah, they directly on the label of some are palm oil. And a lot are, if you look at the calories, if you're eating a product that has a nutrition facts label on it, I want you to look at not just the calories and then the ingredients, but also calories from fat. And, some of these coffee creamers are upwards of 70% of calories from fat. And then you hop on down to the ingredients list, and the second ingredient next to, if it's a soy milk coffee creamer, is palm oil. So really, a 2 tablespoon serving of these coffee creamers, which is a serving, which is very hard to just eyeball, is, oil. It's just direct oil. It's not even fat from the beans. It's added in palm oil, as a binder and as a thickener. And, sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to see outcomes in terms of blood glucose readings and improvements with folks because you don't think about it. You think, oh, I'm having some coffee creamer. Oh, I put a little bit of peanut butter on this. But even the peanut butters, turn that around. I mean, even if you are not someone who is dealing with hyperlipidemia, cholesterol, diabetes, you still need to be aware of the fat that you are consuming and the sources of food that you're consuming. And not all of those natural peanut butters are all they're cracked up to be. Peanut butter should be peanuts. Almond butter should be almonds, and some of these other sources have coconut oil or palm oil. And be aware that that's not a pure source. See it as you're not getting your bang for your buck, but especially when we're dealing with people who need to heal, who would like to heal quicker than later and get them on the right path. These hidden oils really become a problem because they're so well hidden and well marketed.
Yeah, and even things like, tempeh, which is fermented soybeans, which is a great, a great thing to have. We've made Reubens with tempeh. We've done, a breakfast tempeh instead of tofu in a scramble with peppers and mushrooms and onions. But, there's marketed tempeh of flavors, the bacon flavor or the barbecue flavor. And if you look, there's a lot of added ingredients in those things, a lot of added sodium, a lot of added sugar, even added oils. So it really messes things up. So you're much better off to flavor things on your own and do it that way.
And that doesn't, again, so flavor on your own. It doesn't mean that all is lost. You have to eat this bland food. This is going to be awful, blah. No, we have drawers of spices and herbs that actually have some medicinal benefits, some being very anti-inflammatory. And you can create your own, and it doesn't take that long to turn that spice jar upside down and shake a little bit onto that tempeh and get your smoked paprika flavor in there, or cayenne pepper, and being able to regulate what you would like. And again, be an advocate for yourself and, be in control, be behind the steering wheel of your health and wellness journey.
Right, and when you're adding spices in, think about, tonight we're going to be having a pasta dinner. We have actually have our own basil and own oregano to add, and those leaves give much more spices than the dry. If you can, get a little plant to have in your windowsill or on your porch, and a lot more nitric oxide producing capabilities. So, think if you can, look at the leaves of things, even getting fresh turmeric and fresh ginger to greaten things. Today we did a Sunday morning brunch juice with carrot, beets, and ginger. A tremendous amount of nitric oxide anti-inflammatory properties. Adding turmeric and black pepper combination, the black pepper increases the turmeric absorption. It's been shown to decrease Alzheimer's when they looked at Indian versus U.S. populations. Adding curry will actually decrease the incidence of Alzheimer's. So, think about it when you're doing these things. When you're adding something, you want to help yourself, but we're not looking for magic cures either. So turmeric is, eating turmeric in a Snickers bar is not the answer. But adding turmeric to whole vegetables, real vegetables, not vegetable powder, that's kind of the answer to your ultimate health and wellness. So, we're getting ready to start a whole new session of nutrition classes in the office, level 1, level 2, and level 3. That starts tomorrow, and tomorrow, actually, I'm going to give a spoiler alert. We're going to be making how to make homemade baked beans and a
really good cornbread.
And so our cornbread, again, all without any extra oil, all without added sugar. So that'll be good. And then, the level 1 class, we looked at how to incorporate different kinds of greens and grains into your diet, because those are usually our newbies. So we want people to taste a variety of different greens. If you haven't tasted, bok choy or Swiss chard or Napa cabbage, I would encourage you to incorporate those into your diet as well.
Another thing we have going on this month with the practice is something we do every month. So we send out a general newsletter. If you'd like to sign up for that, head on over to drdulaney.com. In the bottom right-hand corner of the website, you can add in your name and email. You'll automatically receive 5 family favorite recipes, but then you'll get our monthly newsletter that usually has a recipe, maybe a note from the doc on health and wellness. But then our members get their own newsletter, and part of that every month is a wellness challenge. Last month for April, we had a step challenge. The last one we did was in November, and we well surpassed our November steps, reaching around 3.5 million steps as a total, practice for those who got involved, equaling about, around 2,000 steps to equal out about a mile. We got around 1,750 miles as, everyone who participated in that, logging in their steps weekly. So that was a lot of fun. But for May, we're focusing on meals and mobility. So, our members who are on our Facebook page, we're having them submit a photo of their favorite meal that they prepared for that week, and to share that recipe if they can, just to, support each other and have a virtual potluck of sorts. And then we're doing a mobility challenge. So each week on Mondays for the month of May, we're submitting a video showing a strength portion and a mobility portion to help with, we want people to get moving, to be exercising, and find forms of exercise that they love to add to their health and wellness. But we also want to do some recovery with some mobility training.
Yeah, so it's not all about being negative and, just being grouchy. We don't want to be that, and we don't want to leave you with we're just a couple of grouchy plant-based or type 2 vegans. We want to make this actually very, very positive, and all the joys that you can experience being plant-based. But also we want, it's not all about just sitting in a chair and eating all day. We want people to be active and mobile, and to be able to do anything that you want, throughout your life. We have members that are doing Ironmans and triathlons and are running races. At the end of the month, we have several members participating in the Memorial Day 10K challenge. So, we want to keep everybody healthy and moving. We have several members that are avid cyclists, and we even have, I think we're probably the app Zwift, if you haven't heard of it, that you can virtually ride together. So we have some members that are starting to get that app and potentially do some virtual bike rides together. So I think that's, a great fun in the practice. It's just not all about telling people what to do as far as their eating. And as far as what's going on down here, again, I'm just starting to ramp up my Ironman training for Ironman Chattanooga, which is in September. So it'll be swim, bike, run, and strength training for me. And so that's a lot of fun. Again, during the week, I use a Zwift app to do virtual rides with my Wahoo trainer, so that I can, a little bit more entertainment and virtually ride with other people. I do a master swim program a couple times a week, again, where I'm interacting with some like-minded people, and we have some great coaches that give us some good workout and challenges. My strength and conditioning son-in-law and my daughter give me the strength exercises, and I pretty much can tear myself up running all that I need to, and we do, and when basically my run's going to be progression. A couple days of a little bit faster, other days really easy, and a long run on the weekend, and then to ride off the bike. So I'll keep you in tune about how things are going and the different routines that I'm going along the way.
We're going to get them up to Georgia to maybe check out a few new trails we've scoped out.
Yeah, that's a new love that we have as far as running trails, and you're continuing to do your weight training and 5 and 10K training.
Yes, going to a shorter distance, adding in more speed, or at least trying to. And then also amping up my strength and conditioning a little bit this summer and listening to my coach.
Yeah. So, we encourage you to, give us shout out an email to us. It's Addie at drdulaney.com. And in case you're new, it's DOCTORDULANEY. And my email is Jami, Jami, at drdulaney.com. And check out Addie's website at naturallyrooted.com.
Naturallyrootednutrition.com.
Whoop.
And if you are on different ways of social media these days, you can find us at Facebook, but also on our websites and also on Instagram. We have some good recipes on there. We check in on our activities, and you get to see our furry friends there too, our training buddies. So you can give us a go at the doc is at Jami Dulaney on Instagram, correct?
Nope, it's Jamila Dulaney. Good thing we communicate. Jamila Dulaney is my Instagram, and yours is?
Naturallyrootednutrition.com.
So we'll put it in the show notes in case you get confused with all the arguing that we're doing. So until next time, I wish you eat whole foods, real foods that look like they came out of the ground. Move your body, exercise, do what makes you happy, smile every day.
Do it with friends. Be grateful for each day.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.